Welcome into another Dynasty Rookie Profile, where today we are looking at UCF receiver Javon Baker. If you're new to the channel, make sure to like and subscribe. We're putting out Dynasty content all year long. And if you're new to watching these videos, these are Dynasty Rookie Profiles. We're diving deep into the 2024 NFL rookie class. And we're not just talking about the big names that everyone knows. We're talking about some of the lesser known names at the receivers and running back positions in the scope of fantasy football, of course. And we have a bunch out already, so check them out. And like I said, today we are talking about Javon Baker, who honestly is an interesting evaluation for me. You know, we're trying to look at not just the film, not just the raw numbers, not just the analytics. We're trying to put all of it together, put the pieces together. We're looking, you know, to see who we can find, the hidden gems of this rookie class. And Javon Baker's an interesting one to me because when I first watched him and scouted him, I was kind of like, okay, he's fine. Nothing jumped off the screen for me. And then I just, as the offseason kept going on and on and on, just kept seeing him more projected as a second round or third round pick. I don't remember the last mock draft that I've seen where he wasn't either a second or early third round pick. So I went back and watched him and just see what I'm missing. So let's get to it. We have Javon Baker here, 6'1", 202, so good size. You see his 2023 stats of 52 catches, over 1,100 yards, 7 touchdowns, and yeah, he is a round 2 to round 3 projected pick. Now, he had a huge year, obviously, averaging a lot of yards per reception. He played at Alabama. He started his career at Alabama and was recruited there, so good enough to go to Alabama. Didn't really crack the roster, didn't really do much, went to UCF, and his final 2 years of college, he was pretty productive at UCF. And yeah, last year he averaged almost 22 yards per reception, which is pretty insane. You see some of his combine numbers. He ran a 4.54. His 10-yard split was 1.58, which is not that great, to be honest. And you kind of see that on tape. He doesn't have great long speed or initial burst. And so, you know, that is concerning a little bit. We want to see a guy be able to either have good long speed or really good initial burst. And to me, he doesn't have either one. His broad jump is a 121. So it's decent. Again, nothing to write home about. So just in terms of his athletic ability, it's kind of average, I'd say, at best. So nothing really jumps off the page in terms of his athletic combine numbers. He does have good like hand size and arm length and things like that. Now we see some of his production numbers here. We have his career dominator, and dominator for a receiver is the percentage of a team's receiving yards and touchdowns. So over his 2 years at UCF, he accounted for 28% of their receiving production. And I believe last year he put up 32%. Yeah, last year he was at 32% of the team's receiving production. His breakout age, which is the first year in which he put up at least had a season of 20% or higher of a dominator. He was 20 years old, which is good to see. We want to see 20 or younger. Generally, I went back and looked at every fantasy relevant receiver over the last 15 years, and I think all of them but 8 had a breakout age of under 21 years old. So, you know, as much as we want to say, it doesn't matter, and I know COVID has kind of made this a little bit questionable because the COVID year kind of ruined a lot of things for people, and we're still getting people who were affected by the COVID year, like Javon Baker. But breakout age is important. We want to see younger players dominating, and that usually translates to, you know, being good in the NFL. PFF receiving grade of 84.3. That's a good score. Yards per route run at 3.21, which is fantastic. Really, really good. This was this last year, 3.21 yards per route run. One of the highest in this entire draft class. I think it's actually the third highest or fourth. Yeah, I think it's top 5 highest in this draft class, you know, behind guys like Malik Neighbors, Jacob Cowing, actually, Johnny Wilson. So really, really good yards per route run. ADOT at 17.1, which is one of the highest ones his ADOT's at 15.8. I don't know why I put 17.1. His ADOT was 15.8, which is still pretty pretty high. We want to generally see it between like 11 and a half and 13, because that kind of shows that you're not just a deep threat. You're also not just a behind the line of scrimmage guy. So we want to be right in that middle, a little high, but that's fine. Maybe that's just how UCF's offense was. Yards after catch per reception at 7.2 is really, really good for Javon Baker here, I believe, and I'm just double checking here. Double checking where that ranks overall. I don't have, that's top 50, 55 in the nation. So really, really good yards after catch per reception. Contested catch percentage is where he makes his money. You watch this guy's film, and he is making contested catch after contested catch. Over 56% of his contested catches he caught, which is really, really good. Really good. Anything over 50% is, if you're catching 50-50 balls and you are catching them at a 50-50 pace, that's really good. For reference, I think Marvin Harrison Jr. has the highest in this draft class, and he was at 60%. 60. Oh, no. Keon Coleman, 62.5. But, those are like elite numbers. Not many guys get above 55, and we're seeing, over 56 for Javon Baker is really good. And then we have contested target percentage. This is the percentage of targets that were contested. I'm looking more and more into this. If you've watched these Dynasty rookie profiles, you'll hear me talk about this a lot, where we are kind of looking at the what percentage of their catches were contested. And to me, now there's a lot of factors that play into it, but to me, the number one thing this shows is a receiver's ability to get open by their route running or speed, right? If you have a low number, that means you're getting open more often than not. If you have a higher number, it means you struggle to get open. If you struggle to get open in college, you're probably going to struggle to get open in the NFL. So we want to see this number below 20. Below 15 is where you really start like, oh, it's on my radar. Anything above 20 is kind of like a little bit of a red flag, in my opinion. It's not the be all end all, but it's a little bit of a red flag. So, he's right at 20%. So it's fine. It's not ideal, but it's fine. But man, his production in single coverage and is amazing. He dominates single coverage. But I'm just a little bit concerned about his production in zone. We see his yards per route run here. The NFL is moving more and more towards a zone type of defenses. Defenses are running zone 65 to 70% of the time, right? Running it at a higher pace. And we really want to see receivers. I made a video about this actually, about receivers producing in college against zone and how that translates to the NFL. And a lot of the receivers, the first, second round receivers that are busting, a good amount of them are not producing versus zone in college. This is a low number. We want to, at worst, we want to see this number at 2.5 yards per route run. Anything over like 2.9 yards per route run is starting to get into elite territory. He's at 2.19, which is concerning, which is quite concerning. So, so we see the yards per route run there. And I may have mistyped on the man yards per route run. I feel like I made a mistake there. I'm just double checking real quick. Javon Baker, where are you? No, I guess that's what I have. But yeah, 2.19 is not ideal. We want to see that number higher. He does play, all over the field, out wide in the slot and things like that. Obviously super productive, like I said, with the 52 catches. Javon Baker is an interesting one because his contested catch ability is great. I generally don't like to see guys, majority of their wins are coming in contested catch situations. Yeah, I don't like to see that. So I want to see them get open with their route running, and I just don't see that a lot with Javon Baker. Obviously his hands and his ability at the catch point is really, really good. And there are players that can survive this way. George Pickens is kind of one of those guys. Mike Evans, is kind of one of those guys that survive at the catch point and contested catches. Pretty good footwork. He controls his body quite well. Not great long speed. His ability against zone He needs to be able to find the hole in the zone a little bit better, in my opinion. Obviously, he has really good hands. He's really tough. He's going to have a role for a team, but I just don't know if it's going to translate that well to a everyday fantasy. There's a lot of receivers that I don't think we realize. There's a lot of receivers that play a large percentage of their team snaps that just don't really do much. You know, Alec Pierce is one of those guys that come to mind. You go look at Alec Pierce's numbers, right? And I'm going to pull that up right now, like his game log from last year. Alec Pierce, go look at his game log, play-by-play, not play-by-play, but his game log from 2023. And only one game was he under 90% of the snaps. And you would assume if you're out there 90% of the time, you're going to be producing. And that's just not the case sometimes. Sometimes, like, you know, the wide receiver two, the player that's out there as the second wide receiver isn't really the second best receiver. He just fits the outside role a little bit more. And maybe that's what Javon Baker will be. He'll be valuable to a team. He'll be valuable as an outside receiver and two wide receiver sets. But he's just never maybe going to command a high target volume or anything like that. That's my worry with Javon Baker. I'll be interested to see where he goes. You know, is he going to really follow what all these mocks are saying, where he is, you know, being drafted in the second or third round, or is he going to fall a little bit? So I think he's going to be at best a wide receiver 3 in like a very like if he's like Gabe Davis for like the Bills, I kind of see him as that. So, you know, Gabe Davis, kind of similar in terms of maybe not their size, but in terms of like, you know, their ability to win downfield. They're not necessarily super fast, but they can win downfield. So that's kind of what I see for Javon Baker. I don't really see much more for the fantasy purposes. It will be valuable for a team. I just don't know how good for fantasy. So that's where I'm at with him. As always, make sure to like and subscribe, guys. We'll be putting out a few more of these. We're less than 2 weeks away from the NFL draft. We will be live streaming during the NFL draft, so check that out. And again, as always, like and subscribe. I'll catch you guys in the next video.